Welcome. Welcome to this service, this Vespers service this evening, and the chance to listen to music, to have a more somber moment, recognition of the fact that our holidays come with us, coming with griefs and feelings that may not be the same as the joy, joy, joy message. So this is that moment to be able to be here. I welcome you all. I see members of the grief group and others. I'm especially grateful to John and Janice and Elaine and Carlene and Ginny Rush for all the work and preparation put into this service. Thank you. This was not done all alone. This was indeed teamwork. I have asked you to write on a scrap of paper what prayer you want to have said or a mention of a grief you wish to have read. There will be a time in the service in which we will light candles for you for these items, and we will also include them in the prayer. We're not asking much of you other than the fact that your presence here is a part of the feeling of support in our larger, wider community. For those who may be watching at home, may it also translate over the screen in a way in which it helps you enter this season recognizing the losses and the feelings that you hold. We will not be asking you to sing hymns. We will just be asking you now and then to repeat back a line as I read a litany or to listen to the readings. And I am grateful that we have people here willing to share this spot with their voices being shared from here. The piano music we have next is from the Hanukkah section of our hymn book. May we, no matter which holidays we celebrate this season, may we ease into this time with this music.
A Jealous Lighting for When Things Aren't Okay by Molly Brewer. My beloved people, I cannot pretend. And so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now, that there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, and so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love.
In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, sorrow falling down like rain, I await the sun again. I choose love. I choose love. In the midst of war, I choose peace. In the midst of war, I choose peace. In the midst of war, hate and anger keep me sore. I will seek the good once more. I choose peace. I choose peace. When my world falls down, I will rise. When my world falls down, I will rise. When my world falls down, explanations can't be found. I will climb to holy ground. I will rise. I will rise. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, I choose love. In the midst of pain, sorrow falling down like rain, I await the sun again. I choose love. I choose love.
Denise Levertov wrote what I'm going to read. She entitled it, Talking to Grief. Ah, grief, I should not treat you like a homeless dog who comes to the back door for a crust, for a meatless bone. I should trust you. I should coax you into the house and give you your own corner, a worn mat to lie on, and your own water dish. You think I don't know you've been living under my porch? You long for your real place to be readied before winter comes. You need the right to warn off intruders, to consider my house your own, and me your person, and yourself my own dog.
This is entitled, Yet in Our Hearts All Is Not Joyful. It's a litany of comfort for a Blue Christmas by Deborah Falk. At the end, I will ask you to respond with me, and I'll point to you and you can say along with me, we find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. Don't worry, I'll speak slowly. All around us are bright lights, merry messages, yet in our hearts all is not joyful. There is grief with the loss of relationships. Those we love no longer with us because of death, those we have led and been with who are estranged from us, those we love, yet experience a diminishment of intimacy. There is a grief with the loss and the change of relationship. Grief, bittersweet, for it is a consequence of the presence of love. The season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together.
This is a continuation of the litany about the bright lights and merry messages. When I pause, I'll ask you again to say, we find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us, there are bright lights and merry messages. Yet in our hearts, all is not joyful. There may be pain in our bodies, physical pain as a natural outcome of aging, physical pain that presents itself as illness, pain in the body that forces us to change and imposes limitations. Pain, bittersweet for physical experience, includes both pain and pleasure, and this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together.
Again, I will read and end with us all hearing and perhaps saying the phrase, we find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts all is not joyful. There may be anger and regret with the memories that we hold, anger with past experiences of hurt or abuse, regret of our own actions that may have caused hurt to others, anger that life has not turned out as we imagined, regret for what we might have said or done. Anger and regret, bittersweet in presenting the possibility for healing and forgiveness, this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. Janice and Elaine now present in their music video, You Do Not Walk Alone.
May you see God's light on the path ahead.
I invite you into this litany for the season, an abbreviated version, which is from my colleague in Pennsylvania, Peter Friedrichs. As I say each line, I hope that you will respond, we remember, we forgive, we love. If we could practice that now. We remember, we forgive, and we love. For the gifts that we yearn for but did not receive, we remember, we forgive, we love. For those who gave us gifts but never their presence, we remember, we forgive, we love. For those who offered us cheer when what we needed was comfort, we remember, we forgive, we love. For those who offered us love, but we could not accept it, we remember, we forgive, we love. For ourselves, who could not give what was needed, we remember, we forgive, we love. For those we have loved deeply, who have left us too soon, we remember, we forgive, we love. For ghosts of Christmas past that haunt us to this day, we remember, we forgive, we love. For salvation that still has yet to arrive, we remember, we forgive, we love. And for all these things, we pray that we may be granted an abiding serenity in all of our memories, and that we may find peace now and in the days to come. As we listen to the music, I will come among you to collect the slips of paper with the prayers, the griefs that you have written there, so that I may have them before we light the candles. Home, someone commented, this is the hard part where Bob gets to read everyone's handwriting. I will light candles for each of these, and also one for those who may be watching online, either live or later. This candle is for Tricia, who is sad after the loss of David and no family here. I am thankful for this church and friends listening quietly. I feel sad. And we light this candle today. There was more to it. My grief is for me and the unexpected diagnosis of Alzheimer's. This candle asks that may grace and gratitude fill our hearts regardless of our circumstances in this season of sharing. And with this candle comes a prayer for all who are lonely, ill, depressed, fearful, for those who feel alienated. We light this candle with the comment that joy was an interesting topic this morning. This year, it's hard to find. Grief and loss show up in the season of joy. This candle is a prayer for family and friends who have lost someone loved to mental illness, suicide, or murder. Light a candle for those whose medical conditions are at the forefront of their thoughts and feelings, for whom it is hard to concentrate, for whom it is difficult to be in a season of joy. I light a candle for this community of UUTC, knowing the ways in which we all wish to feel like something could be the same as before, and the grief of how things are not that way. I light a candle for the things that were not expressed, perhaps due to my poor handwriting interpretation, perhaps due to the fact that it wasn't ready to be written down, or perhaps shared by those who are not here with us. Let's remember that this room has room for so many. Our hearts have room for so many. And while we may not see everyone's face here, we do not forget. I light a candle for the beauty that each of our faces brings, the looks and the glances and the greetings. For we are not leaving here feeling alone. We will have felt we were a part of a loving community. For these candles, the glow is just a fair representation of some of the prayer and hopes that we have. May we take a moment in the sounds of music to reflect on the dancing flames and our beating hearts. In the words of Gordon McKeeman, let there be light. Let it shine in all the dark places, in the moments of pain, in the times of grief, in the darkness of hatred, violence, oppression. Where there is discouragement and despair, wherever darkness can be put to flight, let there be light. I am grateful for the words of my colleague Tess Baumberger, who had a pastoral thought from 20 years ago that still resonates with me. Let's take this in as a prayer, and a deep breath. The holiday season is upon us, but this year many of us move toward it with leaden feet. It has been such a year. And because it has been such a year, it may feel forced to enter into the jolly spirit of Christmas, the joyful spirit of Hanukkah, the reflective spirit of solstice, the hopeful spirit of New Year's. Thinking of this, we offer this prayer with you. It is a responsive prayer. All I ask of you is to respond with the words, "May we find peace." Spirit of life, goodness, and peace, may we find peace. When our world is torn with war, may we find peace. When our lives are ruled by fear, may we find peace. When loss leadens our days, may we find peace. When loneliness weighs heavy in our hearts, may we find peace. When despair takes hold of our souls, may we find peace. As we give help to those in need, may we find peace. As we go about our daily duties, may we find peace. As we make holiday preparations, may we find peace. As we gather in this place of grace, may we find peace. Spirit of love, goodness, and peace, may we find peace. Amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We are now closing our service. Let us, as we extinguish the chalice, remember the words of Rebecca Parker that were included in the chalice lighting from the start of this service. slightly altered. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our community, let us rest in this love. May you go forth with a feeling of peace. We listen now to Carlene's recording, the final closing music.